Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Welcome to the Right Time with Bomani Jones on ESPN Radio. My name is Clinton Yates, filling in here on a Friday. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, and all guests on the Right Time appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We're talking super teams, rivalries, LeBron James, Draymond Green, Warriors, Cavs. They've been going back and forth at it on Insta and in the media. And they sound like they're really kind of upset with each other. LeBron made a couple comments about super teams. Draymond said a couple things about it as well during the parade. And now we've got a full-blown, I wouldn't go so far as to say beef, but we got ourselves a real rivalry here. Let's think back to the NBA. There have been some good rivalries. Pistons, Bulls, Knicks, Pacers, Lakers, Kings. Those are all, though, same conference rivalries. Now, with them having faced off 3 times in the finals and kind of looking like they don't even really respect each other that much, man, this is something we can get involved with. This is something where even if you don't care about either team as your hometown squad, you can pick a side and ride with it. You can argue with your homies at the barbershop or on the corner about who deserves this more or who's really got something going on. We could go cliche route. These two teams just plain don't like each other. We don't really do that around here, but that's what it's coming to look like. Let's hear what Draymond had to say at the Warriors parade about LeBron's comments on super teams.
And can somebody give Bob some credit? They want to talk about super teams this, super team that. I never played on a super team. You started the super team, bro. I ain't joined the super team. Hey, Slim, I don't know what you just did, Slim, but you did something to them boys. We appreciate you joining the super team. I never played on the super team. That's crazy.
And here's what LeBron James had to say in response on the Revolver podcast on Uninterrupted.
In 2003, the Lakers combined Karl Malone, Gary Payton, Shaq, and Kobe. Mm-hmm. In 96, when Jordan was retired, the Rockets joined Charles Barkley, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Clyde Drexler, all on the same team. Mm-hmm. But I don't look at it as I definitely didn't start the super team. Is that what he's trying to say? But I just feel like it's great that on the day that you're celebrating your championship, my likeness and my name is in your head. Well, yeah, I love that.
LeBron, the king of the subtle shade. Oh, you still talking about me, Playboy? I thought y'all won. Why are you thinking about me? Thought you were past that, partner. Nope. Draymond's still worried about LeBron. And this is my favorite part about all this, is that LeBron is willing to engage. So often do you see guys try to take the high road or act like they're too good to really say something to somebody when they come after him. Nah, LeBron's here for it. He's out here making Instagram videos. You winning the NBA championship, you talking about that dude. It's really wild. Here's what Richard Jefferson had to say on the same Revolver podcast on Uninterrupted. His thoughts are a little different.
One of the people forget, like when you went to Miami, right? You went to Miami. They had just lost in the first round, and you added Chris Bosh. I just remember when people were talking about super teams and this and that and putting people together. It would have been like if you had joined the Boston Celtics after you had lost to them. You know, and that's one of those things that, like, to put it in comparison, the Golden State Warriors have been the best team the last 3 years. They broke NBA records for the last 3 years, and they added probably the second best talent in the NBA.
He's incredible.
I don't need teams to hate each other, but I do like it when they don't like each other. That makes it a little bit more fun for everybody. Nothing wrong with a little animosity on the court. Ty Lue brought it up during the finals. Thought team was a little too friendly. I like teams that are mean. Mean is good when you're trying to win. Forget about nice guys finishing last. You never know. KD seems like a pretty nice guy. He didn't finish last. Finals MVP. But I really enjoy it when there's some real grit going on between two teams. And I'll take this outside of the realm of the NBA. I mean, I can't think of a rivalry that has interested me this much in any sport in this country in a long time. You got Yanks Red Sox, that obviously exists. Duke UNC is clearly always a thing. There's other college rivalries that matter a lot. But between pro teams, I can't really think of anything that comes to mind that is rivaling the sort of overall largesse of this bad boy. This is fun. 1-888-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. Clinton Yates filling in for Bomani Jones here on the Right Time on ESPN Radio. Give me a phone call. Tell me what you think about this rivalry. Gene in Pennsylvania, what's up?
Hey, Clint, how are you?
I'm good, man.
All right, so two things. Philadelphia 76ers, 1983, super team. Moses Malone couldn't get past the Lakers or the Celtics. Should have won 3 championships. Secondly, if Draymond doesn't implode last year in the finals, maybe we're not having this discussion about Kevin Durant being on the super team.
I agree. No, that's fair. But again, it's not like Draymond got randomly. People talk about what if he wasn't in that game, or what if he played in that game in Game 5? How would the series have gone? Look, it's not like he was hurt or he randomly missed a flight and there was some unfair thing. He got thrown out of a game because he lost it and melted down, as the caller just said. That was part of the competitive balance of that game. He lost the psychological battle to LeBron and got tossed. I mean, that's part of what basketball is. So when you're talking about, if they had him, they would have won. Well, when he was there, he couldn't handle it, at least in that moment. You have to take that into account when you're being real about what the actual competition was. 1-888-SAY-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. Chris in Denver, how are you?
Yo, man, I'm doing well. I just want to say this is awesome, man. LeBron is giving us a reason to either hate him or love him off the court, and that's what makes a rivalry, and that's what makes us love to watch. Never really been a big LeBron fan, but I'm listening to this.
I appreciate the phone call, and I agree. I wasn't a huge LeBron fan until this year when he started really coming into his own. And I mean that in the context of how he communicated his message to the world about who he is as a basketball player. I'm not saying that all of a sudden LeBron, I just realized LeBron was good at basketball. That's not what I'm talking about. But LeBron is a different character now than he was 3-4 years ago. For lack of a better term, it's much easier to like LeBron now than it was then. He's funny. He's smart and he's good. He makes guys around him better. I enjoy that. 1-888-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. Rick in Atlanta, what's up?
Hey, man, I've been listening to you for the last couple of days about this LeBron James, Draymond Green thing. And, you forget that last year when the Cavs won, LeBron was trolling the Warriors. He had the Ultimate Warrior T-shirt, had the 3-1 cookies. The words were on his mind a lot, too. So this thing is going back and forth. It ain't just Draymond and the Warriors are just thinking about LeBron.
No, I didn't forget that. You're right. He did that. That happened. That was funny. But, in the next step of this, feel like after 2-1, you got a second one. It's kind of like, that one's for y'all. It's kind of how I feel. I don't know. When I win stuff, I like to celebrate with my teammates. I ain't worried about talking to the losers. 1-888-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. Brandon in Ohio, what's good?
Yeah, I really wanted to call and point out the elephant in the room here. I kind of agree with what Richard Jefferson had to say. Pretty much a collection of great players does not necessarily make a super team. Kind of like he said, you have a team that won 73 games and set records and then adds another great player, arguably one of the best players in the league. That's what makes it a super team. And not to beat a dead horse, but you got LeBron going to a Miami team that was not really that great the year before. So I just don't see how LeBron going to the Heat is considered a super team, even though there was a collection of 3 great players that went there.
That's a good phone call. He's right. If you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of what this all is, I tremendously agree with him. That was a good phone call. 1-888-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. Talking super teams, talking rivalries. I'm very much enjoying Cavs Dubs. This is a good one. This is one you're going to remember as a fan of the NBA pretty much for the rest of your life. There's a large imprint on the history of the league in these last 3 NBA finals. 1-888-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. John in Texas. Hello.
Hey, Clinton, I just had to give a call. You were talking about Draymond being, it wasn't like he got injured or missed a flight. He got suspended because he couldn't control his cool. But most of your folks in the NBA, I mean, I'm nowhere close to that, but are saying that that's the most disrespectful move in all of the NBA. And of all the things Draymond got suspended for, the NBA conveniently made sure it was in the finals when they're down 3-1, all control is lost. He should have never been suspended in the first place. So, I agree with you that the hatred in the rivalry is well-deserved, but it should be 3-0 had the NBA not played their part.
I love a good conspiracy theory. Thanks for the phone call. Alas, he didn't play. Cavs won. That was the deal. Coming up, does the Baseball Hall of Fame really, really suck for reaffirming Pete Rose's ban? We'll talk about it. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Bomani Jones on ESPN Radio.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Welcome back to The Right Time with Bomani Jones. My name is Clinton Yates. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, and all guests on The Right Time appear via the Shell Pinto Performance Line. Talking a lot about Cavs, Dubs, and where that rivalry's going. Hit us up on Twitter at Clinton Yates, at ESPN Radio. Got a poll question for you. Is Cavs Warriors the NBA's best rivalry since Celtics Lakers? It's a very interesting question, and things are getting heated up now that the two teams have been trading barbs about super teams. It's been very fun. I've been enjoying it. And I think the answer to that question is yes, personally. The NBA, though, top of mind everywhere. Got some breaking news. According to ESPN's Mark Stein and Zach Lowe, the Sixers and Celtics are in advanced discussions on a blockbuster trade involving the number 1 overall pick in next week's draft. League sources told ESPN on Friday that the Sixers and Celtics are working on a trade that in its current iteration would send a package of Sixers draft picks to Boston, including Philly's number 3 overall pick in Thursday's draft, in exchange for Boston's turn at number 1. What does that mean? For those of you who have been longtime listeners of me, you know that I personally feel that the Celtics are actually in an extremely difficult place in terms of what their future meant. A lot of you got mad at me because I was intonating, because you didn't understand what I was trying to say. But sometimes too many options with too high leverage can be very difficult. They got choices, and they got to make them quickly or else they're going to blow all of this. People blowing me up on Twitter. Top picks in cap space. Top picks in cap space. Blah, blah, blah. You know what this signals to me? This signals to me that Danny Ainge does not want to have the number 1 pick be that important to him. I'm not saying that he's punking out. I'm just saying moving down to 3 with a bunch more picks, I just don't feel that he is ready to bank himself on what that top pick is going to be, Shannon. I think this is a bit of a cop-out in a certain way.
Well, I'm looking at it in a couple of ways. I'm seeing that it appears that if Ainge does this, that he's not completely sold on taking Fultz, number 1, and that he feels as though that he can get the same quality of player in at 3. And if you're not sold on him at 1 and you can get the same player at 3, plus add in additional picks that you'll get from Philly, why not do it? Philly has a ton of picks. But one thing that's also interesting with Boston, the whole thing leading up to the trade deadline was, what's Boston going to do with this Nets pick? Were they going to trade it, or were they going to trade it for a star player, or were they going to get or save it and try to get the potential number 1 pick? We saw that they saved it. Now they have the number 1 pick. And now we find out that they may not even keep that pick. So it's
weird.
So it's very weird, and this also tells me that they're building for the future and not necessarily trying to compete right away with LeBron and the Cavs. Like, hey, we had the best record in the East. We'll add a few pieces here, but it's not necessarily win now. We're trying to build for the kind of the post-LeBron or, hey, compete and have a better chance in the next 3 years, which will probably be post-Isaiah Thomas.
Boston fans, what do you think? This, to me, is confusing. If I'm a Celtics fan and Danny Ainge is trying to sell me on the future, okay. But what does that mean for Isaiah Thomas? What does that mean for Al Horford? What does that mean for what you're doing right now in the draft? Top picks in cap space. Well, top picks are kind of moving down. I think Danny Ainge might be a little confused here. I don't know that he is very confident about any of this right now, because this only adds more questions. And there were already a ton, which was, how are you going to think about Isaiah Thomas in the long term? Defensive liability, who has to score. You're not going to build for a championship with that guy being the main offensive threat on your team. Ooh, C's are in a weird spot, and it's gotten weirder. I'm genuinely intrigued by this now. Because Danny Ainge, it seems to me, is scrambling. I mean, sure, if you don't think that you need the number one pick to get a certain guy, I understand the down trade. But there's so many things, there's so many balls in the air with who and when is going to be impactful under what combination, that this just seems to add further confusion to the mix. With the number one pick, you can at least stake your claim on somebody and say, hey, all right, or even the number three pick, I guess at this point is not really much different, but it just seems like he does not want to have the pressure of having that number one pick not work out. Because the difference between 1 and 3 is not that big, but let's not forget Darko Milicic. I'm just saying, this is, to me, signals Boston is not as clear on what their future was going to be or is going to be, and they're not really sure where to go. You're listening to The Right Time on ESPN Radio with Bomani Jones. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in here on a Friday. Tune in tomorrow as the Astros host the Red Sox. It's presented by Let Go. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app. Man, C's fans. What do you think, Shannon, what do you think Danny Ainge is selling to them at this point? Because there is no clear path to anything other than being good at minimum 5 years down the road.
No, that's a great question. I wish I had the answer to it because I had no idea what he's doing. Because I thought pick one. Either you go for it now and try to trade and use some of these draft picks, so they have another Nets pick next year. So use some of these picks to acquire a high level. It's been talked about, the Paul Georges and the Jimmy Butler types. You either do that or you settle and get the number one pick and build for the future. If that's Fultz, if that's whoever it may be, who knows? That he may be higher on a guy like a Josh Jackson and feel as though you can still get him at 3 and get additional picks. I wish there was a direct plan, and maybe he needs to put a name to it. Like with Philly, how we have the process, trust the process, right? So we're able to buy it. Right, you can push back. We're able to buy in, and the fans are able to buy into whatever they're selling because it has a nice, shiny name to it. With Boston, I don't know, what is it? Trust the I don't knows. I have no idea what Danny Ainge is doing at this moment.
Oh man, Celtics fans, what are you thinking? Hit me up, 1-888-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. I'm genuinely intrigued as to what C's fans thinks is going to happen next. Because right now there's no way to know. And you know who I think doesn't know either? Danny Ainge. He's scrambling. He doesn't want to stake his claim in one dude. He's just adding more picks, buying time. 1-888-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. Dave in Canada.
Hello there. How you doing?
I'm well.
Hey, so I'm a Celtic fan. I'm a Bostonian, but I live up here in Canada, okay? So take a look at the Celtics roster and look at all the guards they have. Look at all the good guards they have. You're going to add Markelle Fultz and then not play him for, 2 years? You got Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart there, IT. Why not trade down? Stockpile picks. Maybe Sarek will be in the deal. Maybe we're going to get the Lakers pick next year. I think it's a brilliant move. I think you're reading it wrong. Danny's not panicking. Danny's outsmarting the rest of the league. That's my take.
Thanks for the phone call. Well, I guess the C's just aren't going to get better next year. Alas. Coming up, Michael Collins is at the U.S. Open, which means we'll be talking golf. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Bomani Jones on The Right Time on ESPN Radio.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Back to The Right Time on ESPN Radio with Bomani Jones. My name is Clinton Yates, filling in here on a Friday. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, and all guests on The Right Time appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And joining us on that line right now is Michael Collins. He's out at the U.S. Open. Mike, let me ask you off top. We have a poll question going on right now. Do you think the Cavaliers and the Warriors rivalry is the best in the NBA since Lakers and Celtics?
Against Lakers and Celtics? I mean, I seem to remember, but didn't we even do a 30 for 30 on the Bad Boys?
Correct.
Like, and what the Bulls had to do to get past them? Man, I don't know if this rivalry is better than that. It might be as good. I don't know. That you got to remember, in these three series, there's only been this one of them had drama, right? Like when Golden State was up 3-1.
Sorry,
yeah,
go
that's
ahead.
what I'm saying. Hold up, you got to say it right. Drama. One of them had drama. Drama for your mama. And that was last year's. Like, it was not like this one had any drama. You know, even when the Cavaliers won one, it wasn't like everybody was like, oh, here they go again. It was like, oh, that's so nice. They got one. Isn't that cute? Isn't that, look at little Jimmy dancing over there. That's so cute, right? Like,
so you're not engaged by this Draymond LeBron foolishness at all?
No, I love it. I think it's funny, but it's funny in a different way because they're actually – it's like what you would do with your friends. It's not like what you would do like with somebody that you don't like. It would be different if if these two teams didn't like each other and they had beef and like people was fighting and stuff, now everybody's even more engaged. You know what I mean? Like if it was like, all right, hold up. If Draymond's in the club, make sure LeBron don't go to the club. Right? Because then, right, it's true. Like, you laughing, but that's the kind of drama that people be like, yo, them two crews met up, right? They had to be separated. It'd be different knowing, you know, that these guys go hang out and they just needle each other back and forth. It's kind of like, you know, what we would do on the golf course or out on the basketball, like you would do with your friends, and that's all right.
Yep. We're talking with Michael Collins here on the right time with Bomani Jones. Clinton Yates filling in on ESPN Radio. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. You could save hundreds on your car, business, or recreational vehicle insurance from a local independent agent. Go to Progressive.com today. Now that's Progressive. You're obviously on the golf course, and I'll tell you this straight up, Michael. I'm the kind of guy in the post-Tiger era who tunes in at about 4:30 on a Sunday for a major if my Twitter feed blows up enough beyond the people who I already know love golf. So what am I looking for at this point, at this stage of the tournament?
You know me, man. Like, I'm not going to try and blow sunshine and rainbows at you, dog. Nothing. Just sit back and chill for now. Because the only thing so far that's been good about this tournament, that's been fun about this tournament, was how early in the week everybody was talking about this fescue grass, which is like 3.5, almost 4 feet tall, and how thick it was. And like Kevin Na did this video saying how thick it was and, you know, how it's going to be impossible to get out of. People are going to be losing golf balls and stuff. And then Rory McIlroy on Tuesday went into his press conference and like threw shade at him and was like, if you can't hit a 60-yard wide lines of fairways, then maybe you just need to pack up and go on home. And then Rory went out there and Kevin Na shot 4 under and Rory got dusted. He shot 78 6 over. And he was the one that was in the fescue the whole time. And I even called it. I was like, dude, this is why there's no trash talking in golf. It would be awesome if there was, but this is why there's no trash talking in golf, because the only person that gets lit up in golf when they talk trash is the person that was talking trash, which is why Rory's going home. Like, you look at all the top dudes out there, of the top 10 guys in the world, on Thursday, only 2 of them was under par. The rest of them, quite honestly, sucked. They was terrible. Now, like Dustin Johnson's making a nice little comeback. He's on the course now. Jordan Spieth trying to make a little comeback, so he's playing all right. But, like, Henrik Stenson, Alex Noren, who I know most of y'all listen, like, we ain't never heard of them anyway. Cool.
Correct.
They're not going to be around for the weekend, so don't worry about it. But, like, Rory McIlroy, this dude is right now, he's done, and he's tied for 108. Along with the dude who used to be number one, Jason Day, who shot 79-75. That Australian that everybody's been talking about, this dude's going to make this great comeback. He's plus 10. There's amateurs beating this dude. So, and there is an amateur in the top 10 right now whose last name is Champ. That's kind of cool.
Okay.
That is kind of cool. So, I mean, there's a little bit of drama out here. Ricky Fowler is in the lead right now. And that would be the biggest story. You know, the little cool dirt bike riding. He's the one that everybody dresses like. He's the one that brought, like, cool fashion in the flat bill to golf. And, like, all the kids dress like him. And even the dudes that are 40 years old and look completely inappropriate wearing our orange. So if Ricky were to win this, which would be his first major, that would be big time.
I like Ricky. He's a cool dude. We're talking with Michael Collins here on the right time with Bomani Jones on ESPN Radio. I'm Clinton Yates filling in. So, look, I mean, if Day and McIlroy are out, I gotta believe that is a huge bummer from the PGA standpoint in terms of, trying to sell this bad boy. I mean, the U.S. Open is still a pretty important major as far as golf representing itself. I mean, Ricky Fowler's one dude, but this seems to be an overall letdown, I would say, for golf fans in general, no?
Well, it's two things. Number one, thank goodness for Ricky Fowler that he's up there at the top of the leaderboard, because when it comes down to it, he probably is one of the most recognizable faces in golf right now, if you talk about a worldwide stage. But the thing about this U.S. Open, the USGA has been messing up the past couple of years. They've just been messing up. Like, they go to some golf. We went to Chambers Bay in Washington State, and it was like that golf course was horrific. And to give you an idea, one golfer, when they asked him, what was it like out there, the dude was like, oh, we were putting on broccoli. And the next golfer came in and said, nah, broccoli's green. This was more like cauliflower. Like, it was horrible. It was bad for the fans. So it's like, then we go to another golf course, a traditional Oakmont, which is great. And the USGA messes up with the rules because it's like a bunch of amateurs that only do one tournament a year. So they get Dustin Johnson and almost make him not win the tournament, which there would have been. So the USGA has not looked good. Now we're at a place, another new golf course with no trees. It looks a lot like a British Open. So, and everyone complaining about now, this course could be almost 8,100 yards long. Like, it's a big golf course with a big walks, and it's not what you would normally think for the U.S. Open. So the fact now that not only is this a different golf course that guys weren't sure of, and it's the first time we've come here, but now a lot of the big-name dudes are not playing good, like, this was the one time where the USGA couldn't afford to mess up. And it's like they did okay, but now the players is messing up.
I hear that.
Which cracks me up because it's, hey, man, look, we just did what we were supposed to do, and the players are going, oh, our bad. We a little stanky right now. We got a little funk. My bad.
He's Michael Collins. He used to be a caddy. He's a real funny dude, and he's literally watching grass grow at the U.S. Open. Thank you, Michael.
You know what? It's hard enough to watch paint dry on TV, and now we trying to talk about it on the radio. You know what I mean?
It's a visual medium. Oh, wait, it's not. I'll check you later, Michael.
Talk to you later, Clinton. Good chatting.
Peace. Yeah, I don't watch a whole lot of golf. Post-Tiger era, your boy is not really tuning in. But if you tell me that a blimp is crashing on the course and other guys are crash landing off of it, out of the tournament, maybe I'll tune in. Maybe I won't. Props to Ricky Fowler. I like him. He wears cool hats. Coming up, Tupac's birthday is today. He would have been 46 years old. There's a movie coming out about him that we have to talk about. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Bomani Jones on The Right Time on ESPN Radio.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Come with me. It's The Right Time with Bomani Jones on ESPN Radio. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in on a Friday. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, and all guests on The Right Time appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Tune in to an AL battle on Sunday Night Baseball as the Stros host the Red Sox. It's presented by GNC, and coverage of Sunday Night Baseball begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app, and at 8 p.m. on ESPN. Talking a lot of NBA today. Rivalries, super teams, draft. Check out our poll question at ESPN Radio on Twitter. Do you think Cavs Dubs is the best rivalry in the league since Lakers Celtics? I happen to think so. Also talking about the fact that the Celtics might be looking to trade down, according to ESPN's Zach Lowe. Trade down to number 3, get a couple more players, and Philly would move up. Very interesting. We're going to get to that more in the next hour. Give us a phone call. But something important is also happening today in America. Today would have been Tupac Shakur's birthday, and he would have been 46. There's a biopic about his life that's out. It's called All Eyes on Me. Now, if you're of a certain age in America, Tupac is a character that's impossible to forget. I mean, if you think about a solo artist who embodied and symbolized what gangsta rap was about on almost every level, it was Tupac. To this day, there are still people who ride for Tupac simply based on their feelings about the East Coast, West Coast battles. It's like a question you ask somebody just off top in general. Pac or Biggie? Who you got? And everybody has to have an answer, and everybody typically does have an answer. But this movie coming out about him, there's a very, very depressing development regarding what is the biopic. Jada Pinkett, now married to Will Smith, was good friends with Tupac when they were younger adults. And earlier today, she basically had a tweet thread that implied that much of what is in the movie was fictionalized. And that's just really sad to hear. Because one of the big things with Tupac, as a result of him dying so early, Shannon, was that caring for his legacy was an important part of keeping his message alive and who he was. And his mother did that very well. She passed, obviously. But to hear this now, that what is effectively the definitive biopic about him was somewhat based on a lie, I think that's kind of a bummer, Shannon.
Yeah, it's a little depressing, but I believe his mother was, until her passing, was involved in the movie as well. So that's one of the reasons why going into it, I was actually looking forward to it, because to get her perspective about it. And that's ultimately what it might be, and her perspective and other people around. Now, I don't know if they approach Pinkett Smith about whether or not she wanted to be involved with it. It's always weird when you have these biopics, because it's always not. It's not going to be 100% factual. Somebody's not. Somebody's not going to like how they're being portrayed or how something happened. And also another thing too, they're going to embellish a lot of things. It's a movie. It's one thing if it was a doc, but it's a movie, so they're going to embellish a lot.
That's a good point. And I just in general, as a 36-year-old Black American man who grew up in a black city where there was never a world in which hip-hop wasn't the main sort of lifeblood of culture, it's really important to me what these movies are like. There's biopics coming out about every single person, every single thing from my youth. And when it comes to documenting the culture, I don't want to believe that we're getting this wrong just for the sake of dollars. Because if you were there as a participant, how it's treated matters. And it really bums me out to know that Jada was not exactly happy with this one. I was really looking forward to this one. I thought it was going to be the good one. I saw Straight Outta Compton about NWA. That was clearly, heavily leaning towards the guys who made it, which were all the guys in the group. Fair enough. But the legacy of Pac is such an interesting one in this country because he was a revolutionary. All this stuff you see going on in the country today, black folks getting killed by police officers for doing nothing. This is the kind of stuff Pac was rapping about regularly 20 years ago. Longer than 20 years ago, rather. This was the stuff when I was a kid was put into my consciousness by him. Tupac was a legendary American artist. It's wild to think he would have been only 46 years old today. I wasn't the biggest Tupac fan in the world. If you had asked me to pick Tupac or Biggie, I would have picked Biggie. But Tupac was absolutely a more important person to the cultural diaspora of not just black people, but America as well. Really, really respect that guy. He was also a guy who was really talented. He was in movies. He did poetry. I actually legitimately get upset thinking about what kind of a star Tupac Shakur could have been if he hadn't lost his life. You look at some of these rapper-actor guys now, Ice Cube, other people like that. Pac had way more talent than all these people. And that's not a diss at anybody. He was just a natural-born star. They got cut down too early. Tupac Shakur would have been 46 today. Lost him way too early. All Eyes on Me is a documentary, a biopic about him. Jada Pinkett Smith doesn't love it. I don't know if I'm going to see it. But I'm never going to forget Tupac Shakur. And if I'm lucky enough to have kids one day, I'm going to tell them every single thing about him. Because to me, he was an American hero. Coming up, is Lonzo Ball going to meet with other lottery teams? We'll find out. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Bomani Jones On ESPN Radio, it's the right time.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back Monday for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
And now, insurance-minded speeches from Geico.
Hardship. My grandmother would go through it every month to pay her insurance bill. First, she would handwrite a paper check in cursive. Then, using her own tongue, she would wet a stamp for an envelope. Today, however, we need not weary our hands and tongues. Today, we can pay our Geico bill with the Geico app. Away with hardship, in with bill pay on the Geico app. Thank you.